welcome back to my channel. So I have been wanting to make this video for a very long time now, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it. But I'm really excited to be talking about this perfume today because it has been one of my favorite perfumes, like literally top 3, maybe contender for 2 and 1, just like depending on my mood, for like the past few months now that I've owned it. Before we get started, if I sound a little bit nasally and congested, it's because I'm still recovering from a cold. So yeah, that's why I sound the way that I do. Anyways, if you're new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. And if you're coming back, thank you as always for returning and supporting me. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. And I'm so excited to talk about this perfume because I'm in love with it. Let me just like provide a little bit of like a background to my history with discovering this perfume. When it was first announced, I didn't really pay much mind to it, even though this was like a pretty hyped up release, I would say. I have talked negatively about this brand in the past, but I was just feeling like it was another perfume release where like the name was filled with a bunch of like popular buzzwords, and it was like kind of like a clickbait money grab fragrance release, and like I never really paid attention to it. A few months went by, but then one day I went to Sephora and then I finally was like, okay, like I will go and smell this fragrance. Like it's been out for a little while now, and I was like why not? Like let me just try it. So I took the fragrance, I sprayed it, and I was like, oh my god, that smells very, very good. And then I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna wear it a little bit and then we'll come back to it later. And then so I'm in Sephora, you know, I'm testing all the other fragrances, like nothing is really like piquing my interest. And then I just keep coming back to this one fragrance. Like the entire time I was just holding that test strip and I was like, oh my god, like it smells so good. Like this was really a fragrance that was just like a love at first sniff, and I could not stop thinking about it. But then I was like, you know what, I don't really want to spend money. I'm just gonna put it down, and left Sephora, you know, went on with my business. But for the next few weeks, I literally could not stop thinking about this fragrance. Like just something about it was just so delicious and captivating and like juicy, and I was just like craving the fragrance. And then so a few weeks later, I go back to Sephora and then I smell it again and I'm like, oh my god, like it's as good as I remembered and I need it in my collection. And then so finally I like go up to one of the Sephora workers and I'm like, hey, like do you have this fragrance in stock? They check their little like device thingy and they're like, oh nope, we're all out of stock at this location. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no worries. Are there like any in stock like in the nearby Sephora's? I can go to like a different one. And they're like, oh nope, they're all out. I'm just like, oh. And this literally happened at like multiple Sephora's. I have a Sephora that's more of like a neighborhoody Sephora where I live, and then I went to another one that was like in the mall. I go to that one, I go up to one of the workers, I'm like, hey, do you have this fragrance in stock? This is like weeks later and they're like, oh nope, we don't. So I'm just like, oh my god, like this fragrance was literally released like months ago. Like how is it still so high in demand that they like literally never have it in stock? Weeks later, I'm back in Seattle and Sephora was having their, I don't know if it was annual, but they were having this like event where beauty insiders get like 10 to 20% off on like everything in Sephora. I don't know, it was like one of those deals. My friend and I went to one of the Sephora's in Seattle to go shop. I actually wasn't really planning on buying anything that day. I was kind of just like wanting to spend time with my friend and my partner, and I really had no intentions of shopping or anything going into it. But then I went in store, I saw the fragrance again, I picked it up and I smelled it and I was like, oh my god, like it smells so good. And by the way, if you're wondering why like this entire time I didn't just like order it online, honestly I'm wondering that too, but it's probably because I needed the instant gratification and I just didn't want to wait like a week to receive it. I wanted to buy it in store. So finally, this is like the 3rd time I've been at a Sephora. I go up to a worker, I'm like, hey, do you have this fragrance in stock? And then they like take out their little key, you know, go to the drawer that's under all of the fragrances, and then they pull out the drawer and they're like, we have it. I'm like, oh my god, this is like a sign. And then also, since there was the sale going on, I was able to get it for $15 off. So ever since, I have been so addicted to the fragrance. I have been wearing it nonstop, and just it has quickly become like one of my all-time favorite fragrances. If you watched my previous video, you already know exactly what perfume I'm talking about, but the fragrance that I'm talking about is Kayali's Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar. And I wore this sweatshirt today so that we're like matching. Love her. But we're gonna do the usual 6 Sense perfume review and go through like all of the ratings and stuff like that. But I also just have like more to say about this perfume because I really love it so much, and I truly believe that it is the best fragrance released in 2024, even though there were so many great fragrances released last year. So that's really saying a lot. The key notes on this are candied pear, sweet violet, bubblegum, white caramel, rock sugar, and vanilla cream. There are a lot more notes. I'm gonna put a picture right here, but these are just like the key notes that are listed on the back of the bottle. It smells so good. Like, there is something about this perfume that is so bright and juicy and candy-like, but it's not in like an obnoxiously juvenile way. I would say the most prominent thing that I smell is the candied pear. It kind of smells like the bubble gum that's in here, and also cotton candy and gummy bears. It's just like it smells like a very juicy kind of candy. And then of course in the background, it just has this really mouth-watering like vanilla going on. And I truly never thought that I would like this fragrance as much as I did, but something about it just smells so delicious. It's kind of like syrupy and powdery at the same time. There is something so addicting about this fragrance. Like, there's a reason why like I could not stop thinking about it. And I'm almost like kind of ashamed of myself for liking this fragrance as much as I do, because I have been pretty vocal in the past about my, I don't want to say distaste, but like I'm just like, I've never been the biggest fan of Kayali as a brand. And so a lot of their fragrances I'm not super fond of, but I would say this one and Yum Bougie Marshmallow are just incredible. Like, they are amazing fragrances. This, I think, by far is their best one. So not only is this one of my personal favorite fragrances just like ever, but this is also my most complimented fragrance by far. I literally have never gotten more compliments than I have wearing this fragrance, and in the short amount of time that I've owned it, so many people have commented positively on how I smell. I went to work one day and I was wearing this fragrance, and then like the second I sat down, one of my coworkers who has never complimented me on my scent before was like,
"You smell really good."
And then another one of my coworkers was like,
"Yeah, I noticed that too."
Another example is like I was at one of my favorite Thai restaurants. I was with my partner, and this cute Asian man comes to take our order. After taking our order, he comes back to our table and he's like, "I just have to like compliment you on how you smell. Like, you smell so good." And then I was like, "Oh my god, like, thank you." And he was like, "What perfume are you wearing? Like, my mom really likes it." And he like points to like the kitchen, and then like she's like the chef of the restaurant, and she's just like smiling at me. And it was such an endearing moment. Like, I was not expecting like these people at this family-owned restaurant to like talk about my perfume in the way that they did. It was just really sweet. That's when I knew. I was like, this perfume is just like an absolute banger. Like, I love it on myself. Like, people around me tend to love it as well. And I truly just have never received so many positive comments on how I smell. And I think that with this fragrance, it just really has this kind of like wow factor to it. Like, there is something about this fragrance that really elicits a reaction from people. Like, it has a particular perfuminess to it, like a really sweet perfuminess that just really captivates people and makes them think like, something smells really good. This is the same kind of perfuminess that I find in Libre Le Parfum, Flower Bomb, Ruby Orchid, and Dolce & Gabbana's The Only One in Tens. Those are just like a few examples, but these are all perfumes that have like a really distinct, luxurious kind of quality to the scent, while also being just like really, really sweet and like strong projecting fragrances. I don't know, I feel like I would never get the same compliments that I do wearing a fragrance like, for example, Sweet Tooth by Sabrina Carpenter or Yum Bougie Marshmallow. Like, even though those fragrances smell really good, one, they don't like project a ton, and two, they're really sweet and they're a lot more linear. I mean, and I like love those fragrances to death, but they don't have this kind of like wow factor that like really captures people's attention. And this one, there's something so alluring and enticing about it. Don't know how to explain it, but it just smells so incredible. This fragrance is pretty commonly compared to La Belle by Jean Paul Gaultier, and while I do agree, I would say mainly it's in the dry down that you really get this like syrupy pear that is very like reminiscent of La Belle. I think that this perfume stands out because it's in that opening that it's just so bright and has this like amazing candy sweetness that is like kind of like mouth-watering, but it still has like a perfumey quality that really, it makes it smell complex. Like, it's the kind of perfume that like when you breathe in, it kind of like transforms with your breath. It kind of like takes you on like a scent journey, and that's what I like love about this fragrance. It's very transformative. It starts off very bright, juicy, and has like a kind of gummy bear, jelly bean, bubblegum quality to it. But then it settles, and as it dries down, it becomes darker, richer, and you get more of the vanilla. It's just so delicious. Let's get into the rating portion. For presentation, this is definitely my favorite bottle out of the Kayali fragrances. I just love the pearly iridescent glass bottle. And then also the box. I believe this was the last Kayali perfume that uses this box. I think it's so beautiful and well made, and it just feels so nice. But this is like peak Kayali presentation in my opinion. Next up for the scent, I mean, I don't think I have to like say much more about the scent other than it's so addictive, and it's like I have well over 100 perfumes like in my collection, but like it's been months and I still just crave this one. Like it smells so good. And this is like really a perfume that I think everyone has to get their nose on. I would never tell my audience to like blind buy $100 perfume because like, let's be real, this is not a super affordable perfume. And so I would obviously say like smell it first, but I really do like encourage you, like if you have the chance to go to a Sephora and smell it in store, because if you like sweet gourmand fragrances, then this is like really one that you cannot go wrong with because it smells incredible. Oh my god, I'm running out. But yeah, I'm wearing the Glossy Balm in Skinny Dipped by R.E.M. Beauty. Okay, and then as for performance, this fragrance actually performs really, really well, which I was surprised by. Like, given how light and sweet and gourmand it is, I didn't expect it to last as well as it does, but it really just performs well. It has a pretty strong projection, and I think that's one of the reasons why I get as many compliments on this as I do, is because it really does project and just surround you with this beautiful, beautiful scent. But it's not obnoxiously loud as well. I think that they did a really good job keeping the sweetness and sillage of this performance at a moderate, non-headache inducing level. And longevity is also really solid. I think on average I get like a good 5 to 6 hours on this. It does last me throughout my day, and it's just like overall a very nice performing fragrance. Yeah, it wears so nicely, so beautifully, and I just love this perfume. So much so that I actually bought probably the closest dupe that you can find on the market, because I was seeing this perfume a ton on like all over my TikTok feed. But this is Care Confection, and this is pretty much just like, it's just like a dupe of Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar. If you guys want a separate review on this fragrance, let me know and I can go in depth on how, I guess, good of a dupe it is. TLDR, it's like, I would say 95% similar to Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar. I got this for like $30 maybe, and then for the same size bottle, Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar is $138. So very, very significant price disparity. I think that this dupe is worth it if you don't want to like drop a huge bag. What I will say is that I do prefer this fragrance over the dupe. Like, there's something about this that is brighter, maybe a little bit sweeter, and just more addictive. And yeah, but this is also a really good one for the price. And again, to most noses, they smell pretty much identical. Let me know if you have smelled Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar by Kayali. I wholeheartedly believe that this is like the best fragrance released in 2024. It's just quickly become one of my all-time favorites because I love it to death. I don't know, I feel like opinions on this fragrance are pretty overwhelmingly positive, but I feel like I haven't seen people talk about it as much as like I would expect. I don't know. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're all doing well, and make sure to subscribe, and I will see you very soon for a new video because Ariana Grande is coming out with a new fragrance, and I am gonna be buying it literally the minute that it goes live on Ulta. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, I love you, take care, and I will see you very soon.